Cold beer here. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. End of a weekend for us. We are going to talk about a few things tonight, but first and foremost, we're going to drink some beer. Tilly, what's up, dude?
Hey, another good weekend of not really doing a whole lot over the weekend, which is my favorite way to spend the weekend. We're closing in on football season, so my weekends are about to get a lot more hectic and busy. So, yeah, it was a good weekend.
Great. What are we drinking tonight?
Well, as you mentioned just a little while ago before we started recording, we are drinking a now extinct beer. So this is more for our enjoyment, and if you so happen to find one randomly, like pushed to the back of a shelf, you should just go ahead and buy it. I actually talked about drinking this one, and then you mentioned that they were all out, and I was like, oh well, I guess we can't drink that. And then I found two more of them sitting in a box in my house. So I was like, sent one back down to you. So it's like I was reverse supplying you the beer that came out of your brewery. So I thought that was a pretty funny way to do things.
Hey, we all have our journeys, even individual beers.
Exactly.
Yeah, this Kane is a black IPA, a style that got hot for a minute a few years back. Mm-hmm. And I mean a minute, because it was over.
Very brief. And, it literally had its fling. It, like, if you blinked, you missed it. That's the length of time that black IPAs were like a thing.
And I think it's because beer drinker palates are far less evolved on the drinking scale than wine or bourbon or some of these finer things. And the complexities when a black IPA is done well is really a sort of mix of two things that people like but don't usually like together. The trends are pretty clear, patterns how people drink. You know, people walk in and be like, ooh, I need a porter. Well, they're not ordering IPAs. And vice versa. But when you get really cool, complex, dark fruits that can be, and there be a firm bitterness, and then also have a roastiness to it, it's I think it's very cool, even though the sales say otherwise.
They don't indicate. I've always enjoyed black IPAs. Honestly, there's a certain mood I have to be into, where I'm like, I kind of want something dark, but I really want that like hop flavor, you know, like I have to be in like that specific mood. I always told people that it was like a hoppy porter with less body, you know, crisp and light, like just a standard IPA, and you get the hop profile with that, but then you get that nice maltiness and just a slightly more on the mouthfeel. Yep. Like you would be getting with a porter or stout type of thing.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think those complexities offer something pretty neat, and I think that it will come back kind of, because the reason we brewed it was because Joe was reading some stuff, and Stone put out a survey. What beer that we've done in the past do you guys want to have back the most? And, you know, they had 16,000 people responded, and black IPA won. And so as far as qualitative data for beer goes, you know, from a single style standpoint, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
And so they did it, and Joe was like, yeah, God, I love a good black IPA. Let's make it. And I'm like, yeah, of course.
I always tell people it's one of those things that I always, like, if I see it on draft or I happen to stumble across it on like the bottle menu at a place, I'll almost always buy it. But it's not like something that's like prevalent in my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, I do like those. I do like that flavor profile that comes with the black IPA. But then when it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. But
grapefruit I think if you're at a place, that's a great call in many cases, because it's perfect with food.
I just think it's like I said, like you get, that maltiness, you get a little bit of that sweetness, but you get the hoppiness, and you get like that kind of darker, earthy kind of flavor with it, and it's kind of underrated. And I know why a lot of people probably don't drink them, just because, people go, they generally like a couple things, and they're not necessarily wanting to like cross-pollinate their beers into one another.
Yeah.
And this is almost like just a hybridized type of beer. So I get why why the sales would be the way they are. But
yeah.
I'll always drink one when I see it.
Part of the reason the sales are like that too is that even though it is a little lighter than a typical, well, not even a typical stout. It's not. Ours is 6.8%, but
yeah.
It is still not a beer that you're going to go crush. Like, the only dark beer I know that gets crushed is Guinness.
Yeah.
And I don't consider Yingling a dark beer. That to me is an amber. But it's like so I get that a little bit because it is I'm going to go out to dinner. I'm going to have one. It's like a glass of wine. It honestly is. So I get that part, but I just feel like how quickly that trend died and how badly it died.
It's very strange.
Nice to have.
It is very strange. Man, like there was a lot of those kind of in that same time frame as like the black IPA kind of like very quickly came in focus and then out of focus again, right?
Yeah.
Like, seemingly just like weeks later. I'm sure it was a lot longer that it took to like fully pass out, but like there was just like this very brief time frame where that and then some of like the other like dark beers that weren't stouts kind of were like in that, like kind of got bunched into that, and then they were just like poof, then they were gone.
I think dark beer drinkers miss them too, because that was how dark beer drinkers got to hops. And I do think that it's like they don't, like I said, normally they don't, mix together, but those people can trust that. They can look at it and be like, okay, I think I can drink that.
I can do that.
It would be a little more bitter, but that's okay. I mean, there's good dark bitter beers too.
I mean, there's bitter dark beers that aren't, in the IPA realm, just for whatever reason. You know, especially like you get into some of those dark chocolate ones that aren't like fully chocolated out, but just, get a little bit of that like cocoa bean type of like bitterness. But it's a great hybrid beer. I've always, I guess, people are like, well, if I'm going to drink an IPA, let me just drink one that's just an actual IPA. And if I want to drink something dark, let me just go ahead and drink, a porter or a stout or whatever the case may be, and just get that one thing that I'm in the mood for. But
I will say that for as not well as they sell, this is one of the beers where we've had a good amount of reaction from people who have found it out in the wild, because we did send out a few kegs as well that are like, dude, that Kane, and they're like, and we've had, I think a couple of people have asked us like, you gotta make that again. Like, I think we might make it again like sometime, but it's not going to be a regular beer because
you can't just
can't move.
Yeah, if you can't move it, then you just bring it back like periodically, or make a, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This one too.
It's really tasty. It's good.
We'll give a shout out to Hang 'em High Hops in Michigan. This is hopped with Cascade, which is obviously a standard, and then Bergamot, and that is a specialty hop from Hang 'em High Hops in Michigan. We got that in our Frankie double dry hopped IPA that's on tap right now.
Nice.
They're doing some really cool things up there. All those states should be making dope hops. We've had Minnesota hops and beers that were good. That whole thing is super neat, I think, because if all these places can get to at least a couple places in each of those northern, Rust Belt states to production scale, there's going to be a lot of really neat flavor profiles. And so I'm hoping that goes. These guys are doing some awesome stuff. Hang 'em High hops.
Nice.
If you're in Michigan, probably go check them out during harvest.
Hey, we do have one regular listener, my friend Kevin from up there in Michigan. So Kevin, check him out. Hey, we talked about Michigan.
We got a regular listener.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think we have two. My friend Tim also is a pretty regular listener. So
What's up, Kevin and Tim? Thanks, guys.
tell all your friends, especially in Michigan. We'll talk about Michigan hops some more if that's what it takes to get you to tune in regularly.
I know they love their beer stuff because they got tons of great breweries and
Yeah.
and legendary breweries. But I wonder if those guys know about Hang 'em High hop. And there's actually a couple other ones, so it's pretty cool. Oh,
Yep.
They sent us about eight or nine little samples, man. Those things were delicious. We also bought a hop profile from them called Hydra and had made an IPA with that, and it was like really melony. It was very different, and it was really cool. It was a
Nice.
very cool hop profile.
Cool. Well, we can. So we were drinking Kane. You won't be able to find it. If you do, buy it, drink it. Let us know what you think. Maybe it'll make a reappearance sometime in the future.
If you find it, you're not gonna be able to find it, but if you do, buy it.
Buy it.
That's awesome.
Well, cheers to that.